Welcome to another edition of Four Downs with Danny J.
Mr. Right.
All right, so we're going to do a little change of how we're doing things for you guys. And Connor's actually going to go over the new schedule of how we're going to post things out for you.
Awesome. So we decided that posting 45 to an hour long clips and videos was a little too much, and so we're actually going to break down every down into 4 different days. So one down a day. That way you guys can listen to it on the way to work, in the shower, whatever. So
I listen to podcasts in the shower.
Yeah. So no judgment here.
While you're eating lunch or something. That way it's a little bit faster.
Exactly.
A little bit easier for you guys. Make it a little more gooder.
Yeah. So we're going to start off then doing first down.
And here's first down.
Yeah.
So, first down, let's go over BYU versus UCLA. Break down this last week's game.
Yep.
You were there?
I was there. It was it was really fun to be there. A lot of frustrations, which we're gonna get into, but there's some things I was really impressed with about the crowd. For the most part, the fans really showed up with the right color scheme, which I was very shocked.
I was shocked on TV. I wasn't able to go to the game, but yeah, it looked good, and I did not expect that.
No. And you know what? The Rock was huge. I've never seen the BYU football fan section that
student
big.
section. The Rowdy Rock!
Yeah. I was really impressed, actually, and they were loud the entire game. Rest of the fans, maybe not as much, but The Rock was on point. Really proud of them, stepping up their game.
So. That's awesome. So let's break it down. Obviously, we know the result. BYU lost.
Heartbreaker again.
We lost by 3, 17-14 to UCLA. Both you and I predicted that BYU was going to win that game.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out that way. And the biggest talking point right now is the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Offense was not good.
No.
So, just not good. Now, we'll get into this a little bit later, but there was the whole, should they put in Tanner? Taysom's not looking great.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that in a minute. But there were a lot of problems on offense.
Yeah, I think everyone's saying, put Tanner and give him a shot. I think that just shows a little bit of a lack of knowledge about football and about how an offense runs. It's not one problem, It's like a car engine that's not working. It's usually not just one thing. Me and my wife have a Hyundai Elantra, and it has lots of problems everywhere in the engine, not just one place. So,
yeah, going back and watching the game, I was pretty frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Got frustrated again watching it. But breaking it down, it looked like there were a lot of just minor things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of minor things that we need to work on.
It's a lot of little things that are adding up to a big thing.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the offensive line.
That's where I think the major problem is. It's not the quarterback. It's not the wide receivers as much. They're a problem, but it is the offensive line.
Offensive line was huge, a huge problem. And the longer the game went on, the more tired they got, the worse and worse they got.
Amen.
The first move, a lot of times that I saw, was straight up. They're not firing out. They're not meeting the defense. And UCLA, give them credit. Their defense was better than I thought.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But they weren't as good as Utah's defense.
No.
Their defensive secondary was good.
Mm-hmm.
But the offensive line, when your first move is up, you're exposing your chest. You're exposing leverage.
Yep.
In the trenches, it's all about leverage. That is the name of the game. I played O-line. I know that game.
You're a big boy.
I am big. I've coached O-line. You got to get down, you got to get low, and you got to fire out and fire hard. If your first move is up, or
balance.
If it's straight up or out and mostly up, you're exposing your chest. You're allowing the defense to punch you and drive you back, or you're turning your shoulders, which just creates a floodgate. You have to stay square to the line. You have to do all that. And it just wasn't happening? The O-line. And when you're not creating lanes for the running game, then if you're not firing out, you can't create lanes for the running game. You can't create holes. If you're standing straight up, you can't pass block.
Correct.
You're going to get driven back into the quarterback, or you're going to whiff. We gave up 4 first-half sacks.
Yeah. And you know what? Going back to the running game, how it doesn't open up. I was, just watching and looking at everything, and it's the same thing against Utah. Jamal Williams, he gets the ball, he gets to the line of scrimmage, and there's a wall there. And to him, it probably looks like the Great Wall of China because those boys are so big, but there's nowhere for him to go. And if you have a really amazing line, you can make any running back look like a superstar. And when we played Arizona, when Jamal had such an amazing game, if you look at it, the O-line was still standing up. They weren't firing off, but because Arizona's defense wasn't as strong as UCLA's and Utah's, they were still able to open up some lanes, and Jamal Williams had a great game.
Yeah.
The last 2 games, there have been no lanes, and it's not his fault. He has nowhere to go.
Jamal was a little impatient at times.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, can you blame him?
Nope.
If he sees a small hole, he thinks that's going to close up and that fast.
Yeah.
Got to hit it now. There were a couple times where he was patient a little bit longer and let it develop, and that worked. But overall, O-line's got to shape up.
Yeah.
Now, there were a lot of people calling for Taysom's head because we weren't moving the ball, we weren't getting first downs. But Taysom was under constant pressure. And the receivers, I was kind of in this camp watching the game the first time. Those balls were getting zipped in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if the ball hits you in the hands,
if it hits you in the hands, you've
got to catch it.
You really have no excuse.
You have gloves.
Yeah.
Those gloves are so sticky. What I would honestly do if I were the wide receivers coach, if I ever get back into coaching and become a head coach, no one will have gloves during the week. They will just have to catch the ball bare hands. And then come game time, all of a sudden, it's just going to stick there.
Yeah.
That's one adjustment that I would maybe make. Those receivers, that's a very aggressive secondary. They were very physical, much more aggressive and athletic than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. They played a great game. They played a fantastic game. Yeah. But our receivers weren't doing any favors.
And you look at, a lot of people are, angry that Taysom has 4 interceptions. But if you look at least 2 of those came after it hit the wide receiver square in the hands. Maybe they were extending or whatever, and it wasn't a perfect pass. But it's hitting them in the hands, popping straight up right into the arms of the defender. That's not a quarterback's mistake. And that's not his fault on that interception. That's half of his interceptions, at least this year, against Utah and UCLA.
Yeah. For sure. So, receivers, you got to start catching the ball. You got to help our quarterback out. Now, speaking of the quarterback situation, okay, yes, Taysom has some errant throws. On that first drive, just lay it in there, and you got a wide open 6. That was really frustrating because he's had opportunities, but overall. What would you have done? Would you have gone with Tanner? Would you have made the switch, or would you have sticked with Taysom? No. And what do you think we should do in the future?
I don't think we should make the switch. I wanted Tanner at the beginning of the year more than I wanted Taysom. But now that they made the decision, I don't think that it's time to switch, especially because the problems at offensive line and with the wide receivers, it's not Taysom. 100%. He has some room to improve. He has plenty of room to improve. Maybe he's having mentally, he's worried about getting injured because he doesn't have the same zip as he had. But if you take him out, what does that tell Tanner when he starts playing poorly? Oh, are they just going to take me out? And then mentally, you're destroying your players. They can't just go out and play. If you look at the Utah running back who fumbled 3 times, in the game before BYU and against BYU, and he stopped getting playing time. He stopped playing as well, and then the coaches put him back in, and he was able to hold on to the ball, but it just destroys your confidence. And so it reminds me of Jake Heaps and Riley Nelson. You know, something goes wrong, I'm losing my spot, and then they can't just play, they can't react. They're thinking too much.
Right. That I can't agree more. I was starting to get into the we need to make a change camp Saturday night. Going back and looking at it, there were just far too many things that were going on that need to be switched or need to be improved. It wasn't just Taysom.
Yeah.
Now, granted, as the quarterback, you're the leader. One thing that has really bothered me the last 2 games is that there have been sideline reports of our offense on the sideline being down, hanging their heads, not trying to pick each other up. That needs to change.
Yeah.
That starts with the senior captains. That starts with Jamal and Taysom. That's got to change. But as far as who plays, I think you stick with Taysom because, yeah, he's more athletic than Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
But that has come down. It's very apparent to all of us that he's not quite the same player he once was.
Agreed.
But at the same time, if you make that switch, you ruin his confidence and the confidence of pretty much everyone, and you're going to divide the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Utah the last few years. Travis Wilson, they severely handcuffed that kid. He was a serviceable guy. He was a game manager. But one pick and he was out.
Yeah.
And it was just, they severely handcuffed that kid to where every day was a mental fight. And I respect the coaches for their tenacity and seeing the game better than we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're getting paid the big bucks and we're sitting here.
They're devoting their lives to football and getting paid a lot. And they're doing a great job. You know, I just every time I listen to Coach Sataki, he is so positive, and he has this complete faith and trust in his coaching staff and in his players. You know, he sees where they need to improve, and he's always talking about we need to improve. But he's just so positive, and he trusts. Like when me and you've gone to the Sataki show and sat in, and just the feeling that he radiates is just love for the fans, the team. I mean, like he said, and this is quoting him, I want to be the Polynesian Lavelle Edwards, you know? And I think the coaches are doing a great job, you know, and we just got to trust them. Like, everyone's jumping off.
Ty Detmer has forgotten more football than all of us combined. I couldn't ever know.
Yeah.
So, speaking of coaches, though, our defense, those boys can play.
Oh, my gosh.
Switching from the 3-4 to the 4-3, that was a fantastic job. And there were some hesitations a little bit going into the season. They've done a really, really good job.
I think that's been my, you know, trying to look at the positives of BYU football right now. Their defense really is a huge bright spot. BYU's defense the past few years has sucked. You know, Bronco Mendenhall, everyone always talked about how he's such a great defensive coordinator, such a great defensive mind. Their team would still give up 30, 34 points a game. And, you know, occasionally they have moments of greatness and everything. But
I think that's an over-exaggeration on your part. But this looks like a more aggressive, more tenacious defense. Tenacious D. That we got out there. I love what I'm seeing out of our linebacking core.
Mm-hmm.
Butch is a superstar.
Oh my gosh. I don't think he feels pain.
Last year, he played in 8 games and had 8 tackles. This year, in 3 games, he's leading the team in tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 19 tackles by himself, or 19 tackles this past week against UCLA, and 12, I believe, were solo.
12, yeah. Man, his head is full of cement or something.
That kid hits hard.
Hits.
You hear it, and he gets up and he's smiling.
I think it tickles him, you know? What awesome. The heck?
Fred Warner that kid's a playmaker.
He's
that
athletic.
Interception that he had,
yeah,
that was awesome.
I couldn't believe it because it looked like it was a complete pass to UCLA, and then all of a sudden he stands up and I'm like, what the crap?
Yeah.
What?
That was athletic, jumping in there, reaching in, grabbing the ball. I've been extremely impressed with our
Mm-hmm.
linebacking core. Francis Bernard,
Yeah,
switching over from running back last year.
had some really athletic picks as well, and just plays. They're just
Yeah,
all around. There, I think it's one of the best linebacking crews we've had in a long time.
I agree. As far as against UCLA, yeah, we gave up some long third downs. Yes, in the second half, Rosen started to get going. We didn't knock him around enough. We didn't have enough push from our
Their offensive line was really really good.
It was.
We weren't getting the penetration that I thought we would.
Same here.
You know,
I thought we were going to have more penetration. I thought we were going to be able to get in there and do a little more knocking around, rattling. So you got to give credit to their offensive line for holding our blitzes, for blocking our guys. But I thought Harvey Longy had a good game.
Yeah.
I thought Corbin Kafusi, I thought he played well. Mm-hmm. I thought in the first half, our first half was better than our second half. When we didn't have Kai Nakua and McChesney.
Yeah.
So that was good to see that backups could step up.
Yeah, and they're UCLA, Arizona. They have such great offenses, and even Utah has. They're starting to put together a much better offense than they've had in the past. And this defense is keeping, them to such a low score compared to what those teams can do and what they have done. And they're the reason BYU is even 1-3.
1-2.
Or 1-2. Sorry, out of the 3 games, they're 1-2, and
for sure, absolutely.
BYU's
and we've
defense
lost.
Is keeping them in.
Let's be honest. Yes, it's gloom and doom. We're 1-2. However, we've lost to 2 teams that are going to be competing for the Pac-12 South title by a combined 4 points.
Yeah,
with a chance to win the game at the end.
Both times.
Let's just be honest. Maybe fan expectations were a little too high coming into the season.
Mine weren't, but I think everyone else's were.
Most national pundits said if we get out 2-2, that'd be a very good start to our first 4 games.
It would be a great start.
So
I think the reason I think everyone's a little more mad is because they have been close games.
They've been close, and we've had opportunities, but dropped balls, missed passes, missed blocks, small things on the offensive side have lost us those games.
And when you lose by that little bit, it hurts more. So.
It does. So let's look at West Virginia. They got a real good offense. They're starting to really come into their own. They had a bye week last week. 2 weeks ago, they played Youngstown State, so an FCS school. And then they beat Missouri in week 1. So they're 2-0 on the week, or 2-0 coming in. What do you see? What are you thinking for this game?
BYU secondary, and I'm talking more about their safeties and corners. They're a lot better. West Virginia throws a really good air raid offense, and teams like that BYU has struggled very much against in the past because our DBs and our safeties really haven't been that good. But I think this unit will actually do much better. I think, our offense, their offense in the red zone is not strong at all, and so as long as we can keep them from just getting a ton of huge plays, I think our defense is what's going to keep us in it, like it has the last 3 games. But I think they're going to be able to hold them to it. And I think this week is when the offense can just fix a few more little things because we're that close. We're
that close to being 3-0.
Yeah, and we're that close to having our offense start clicking and having good long drives. So, I thought it was going to be this last week, but UCLA was a lot better than we thought. So I think it's going to be up to BYU's defense and, staying sound on their assignments and the offense just fixing those little small things.
They're a good athletic team, West Virginia. The Mountaineers are a good, fast, athletic team. Those wide receivers can burn. They have 3 or 4 touchdowns of over 50 yards already on the season. So our corners are going to have to really step up.
Yeah.
If we play man, you cannot get beat deep.
Nope.
You got to really jam them at the line. We need a big day out of our safeties. I expect us to play a little more nickel.
Yeah.
Because they are going to want to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They got a pretty good, accurate passer,
Mm-hmm.
and the wide receivers are what I'm really worried about.
Yeah.
They got some real speedsters on the outside.
I think though if our linebackers and our front guys can just get to the quarterback though, if the quarterback has enough time, we're doomed. So our D line and our linebackers, we're gonna have to blitz, I think, a lot just to make it so that their wide receivers don't have that few extra seconds to get open. So.
For sure. All right, and we'll get into predictions in another segment.
This has been 4 Downs with Danny J.
And Mr. Wright.
See you next time.